Hello and welcome to ukramedia.com. My name is Sergey Prokhnevsky, and today I was planning on teaming up with my friends over at videosmile.ru to translate this Russian Cinema 4D tutorial by a very talented motion graphic designer named Mikhail Bychkov. But as I was translating this tutorial, I just was inspired to recreate this inside Blender. And for those of you who do not know Blender, Blender is a very powerful 3D software, and it's 100% free. I couldn't believe it. Normally I am a Cinema 4D user. I use it daily at my job, my current job. But lately, I've been kind of playing around in Blender, and I'm amazed by the features and things it has to offer. So yeah, without any further ado, let's dive right in. Okay, so here we are in Blender, and before we start modeling and animating, I do want to go over a few things that are very important for this tutorial. And when you open up Blender, there are a lot of features that are turned off by default. And if you're new to it, you're not aware of that. So that is important to know. And these features are called add-ons. You can also kind of refer to them as like plugins. So let's go see them. Let's go to File and User Preferences, and there's a tab called Add-ons. Make sure you're there. And immediately you'll see like a list of a bunch of add-ons. Some of them are selected and some aren't, or checked, I'm sorry. So make sure you just go over the ones that aren't checked, and just you can collapse each down and just read the documentations and just see what it's about, how to use it, what's it for, and I'm sure you can find tutorials on the subject, but you'll be surprised how many powerful add-ons that are out there. And they can be very helpful. And if you come from another software and there's certain features that you miss about your previous software, I'm sure there's add-ons somewhere out there on the web that you can manually install by hitting this install from the file, and I'm sure it'll get you halfway there. And so that's another thing. This isn't the official list. There are a lot more add-ons out there on the web created by the Blender community. So yeah, it's super awesome. But for this tutorial, I want to make sure that Loop Tools is checked, and also Pi menu is checked. So that is crucial that you have those two checked. And once you're done, just hit Save User Settings, and then that is it for that. But let's go over the render engine. So when you first open up Blender, the default render engine is Blender Render, and that's like an older render engine. It's a direct light engine, which means it doesn't have global illumination, but it's still pretty powerful, and it's a node-based texturing kind of thing. And also what's cool about it, it does have the freestyle feature, and I think it's only supported in the Blender Render, which is the Blender internal engine, which this freestyle is the Toon shading ability, like the ones that we're going to be working on today. So we'll definitely be working on this Blender Render. But Blender also comes with a cycles render, and that thing is a beast. I mean, it's it supports global illumination and node-based texturing and all that jazz. But what I love about it is that it's CUDA supported, which means you can use your graphic cards to render things out, which is huge. I work in Cinema 4D, and currently Cinema 4D doesn't have that, which is a bummer. So yeah, this is a big deal for Blender. In Cinema 4D you can use like Octane or something like that to get you close, but that's more money. And yeah, I don't like that. So anyway, I think that's about it. Let's dive right into our modeling portion of this tutorial. Okay, so when you open up Blender, this is like the typical scene you'll see, like a cube, camera, and a light. So yeah, but we're going to select the cube and hit X. By the way, to select in Blender, it's right click, not the left click, and hit X on your keyboard and hit delete. Okay, and I'm gonna go into my top view, and top view is basically anything in this window is on this bar, like view top view. You just go to top view, but also shortcut numpad 7. So if I hit numpad 7, it'll go into top view. So that's good to know. And so I'm gonna do Shift A to add a new object, and it's the same thing as doing it here. So Shift A, and I'm going to circle and hit period to zoom in. And right away when you hit circle, you'll see this like a new panel open up here, and that's where you'll find a bunch of options. So I'm going to take the vertices count up to about 62, and that's it. So, but remember, once you adjusted this, once you go into the edit mode, this disappears. So it's not a live thing that you can constantly go back to. So yeah, so I'm gonna go hit tab, and like I said, it's the same thing as this. And I'm gonna go to edit mode, and I see all my vertices and stuff. But you see how my vertice in the middle is right on the line, like a center line. I kind of want it to be like to the side of it, like it is here. So I want to rotate it 90 degrees. So I'm gonna, you can either select this and rotate it that way, but I'm going to use a shortcut. If you hit R on your keyboard, and so you can tell it's rotating, and it's locked on the axis because we're in a top view. So it's on the Z axis right now. So I'm gonna do 90. I'm gonna type 90 on my numpad, and it's gonna go 90 degrees. Hit enter, and you know, this window will pop up again, and you can adjust your angle here. But I'm gonna keep it at 90, which is good. Okay, so next I'm gonna go into the edge mode, and my vertice, edge, and face mode are in here, but you can also use the shortcut Control Tab and do it that way. So I'm gonna go to edge mode, and I'm gonna select this edge and also that edge. And I'm gonna hit X on my keyboard, and I'm gonna say delete edge. So now it's kind of disconnected. So I'm gonna go back to vertice mode or vertex mode, and I'm gonna hold or click or I guess push A on my keyboard and select all of my vertices. And now I want to basically connect the two sides. So, and that's where we activated the loop tools here. You can use a bridge, but you can also hit space and click search here. And by the way, dynamic space bar menu, I think it's an add-on you have to activate as well. So I forgot to mention that, but yeah. So hit search, you know, you can type, I already have it typed, but bridge, and you can do it from there. So like that, that's good. Okay, next what I want to do is play with this shape. So if you hit S, it's a shortcut for scale, so you can scale. But after you hit S, you can hit like Y axis or X axis, and it'll scale only on the axis that you restrict it to. So I'm gonna go and hit Y, and I'm gonna slightly scale it up like that so it's not a perfect circle. And also, if I select these two vertices here, you can activate this thing called proportional editing. It's in here, but there's a shortcut for it. It's O. Now you can see it's activated. So once you hit like scale now, you can see that there's like a circle around it, and I'm controlling it by rolling my mouse, middle mouse button, like so. It's basically the influence area. So if I'm scaling it, you can see how it's influencing only things inside the circle. So you can play with this, maybe, you know, give it a slightly different shape, something like that. Good. So next what we'll work on is creating a handle for this paddle. So I'm going to, while this is selected, I'm going to hit X and tell it to delete vertices. And I'm going to select the edges, or this one edge, and I need to extrude now. So to extrude in Blender, you can either go to mesh here and hit extrude, or you can just hit E on your keyboard and it'll extrude. But the problem with that is going all over the place. So again, you can lock it in on certain axis. So you can hit X and it'll do on X axis, or Y on Y axis. So I'm just gonna do Y axis and probably take it down to about like so. And now I'm gonna scale it up, but remember we have proportion editing checked. So make sure you deselect that by, you know, going in here, turning it off that way, or you can just hit O on your keyboard, and now we'll do it. So I'm gonna scale this slightly, just to give it an interesting shape, and that is good. Okay, and next what I'll do, I wanna add some loop cuts along the side here. So to do that, just hit Control R, and you know, you can go over, you can see this pink line. It basically says, okay, I'm gonna be adding loop cuts in here. So once it's selected like that, just scroll the middle button on your mouse and to add more cuts, like so. So that's probably good. Hit click once or left click and click it again to lock it. And you can still adjust it here, but I'm comfortable with that. That's good for me. Next, what I'll do is basically extrude it upwards here. So I'll go to face mode and hit A to select all my faces, and hit E again to extrude. And as you can see on the left side over there, there are numbers. See, like right now I'm at 0.11 and 12. So I want to probably be around this neighborhood. So I'm just going to type it in on my numpad. So I'm going to do 0.13. And that's pretty good. Okay. So now let's go back to our object mode. So I'm going to do tab and go to object mode, all these modes, but I'm going to go to object mode and hit click on that. And as you can see, it's not very smooth here. And to smooth it out, you just hit this smooth shading. But there's one problem, the edges are washed out. And for what we're doing here, it wouldn't be an issue, but to fix that, you just go into here, click on there and add a modifier. So this is basically a modifier. And you can go in here, you see a bunch of them there. But the one we're interested in is this edge split. And right away, you can see that it sharpened all of our edges, but it's still smooth here. Okay, so next, let's do some texturing. Okay, so now we need to create materials. And to do that, let's split this window into half. So if you go to upper right here and click and drag to the left, it'll split. And now for this one, we want to assign it to be image editor. So like this. And now I'm going to bring in an image. Let's see. And it's basically this JPEG called colors. And these are my colors. So the first four, or these four, are for the paddle. And this one is for the ball. And then these two are for the background. So I'm just going to worry about these 5. So let's create 5 materials. And we're going to go into this material tab. And inside here, we're going to create new materials. So if you just hit new here, and right away we have all these options, but all you have to do is just check this shadeless option. And it's just one color. So for this one, let's do the yellow one here. And I'm going to label this yellow. Okay, and then good. Now hit plus to add a new one. And then the same way, new, shadeless. And then for this color, I want it to be orange. So let's type orange. Good. And the same thing, hit plus, but I'm going to fast forward through this. So yeah, just repeat this process. Okay, so we have our material created, and now we're going to apply them to our paddle. But before we go any further, let's merge this screen into that one. So just right click, or not right click, just left click here and drag and to the right, and it'll merge that for you. So that's good. Now, if you select this paddle and hit tab and go into edit mode, we can select some faces and apply these materials. So let's go into our top view. Or actually, before we do that, let me show you something on numpad. If you hit 5, it goes between ortho and perspective view, which is good to know. So I'm going to go to ortho view and hit 7, and you can see how it's flat. So if you play around, that's what I want. And hit 8 to deselect everything. And I want it to be in wireframe, so I select everything. Like for instance, if I select stuff like right now, nothing is selected underneath it. So, but if you hit A again to deselect it, and Z on your keyboard to go into a wireframe, and then hit B to select stuff. So I'm going to select, let's see, these faces. So that's good. And now I'm going to hit Z again to go into my material mode. Okay. And now we're going to select the orange color, and I'm going to hit assign. And right away, you can see that it assigned it to selected faces. So next, I'm going to select this first face and then go to the back here and hold down Control and select the top one. And it will select everything in between. So that's good to know. And we're going to assign red to that portion. Good. And the same thing here. Select the first one and then Control, right click, and just go all the way around here to select your faces. And that's good. And for this one, we're going to assign white. Okay. And the bottom one, it's going to be green color. So the same thing, first face, and then Control right click to select all of them in between. And a green, assign, good. So now we have material on our object, and I'm going to hit 5 to go into perspective mode, and tab to go into object mode. So let's talk about the freestyle. So if you go back to here, you can see, by the way, if you click on your mouse and just hold it and drag it down, everything will be collapsed. So we want to check this freestyle. And if you hit Shift Z, you'll see the live render, and it updates constantly. So you can see that it's working, and you can collapse this down and increase the stroke size. So let's go take it up to 2. So that's good. You can see it's working, but here's a small problem. We want the black line to go basically isolate each material. So to do that, we'll just go to this tab here. Well, actually, yeah, let me see. Yeah, this one. So let's do the same thing here. If you if you click and left click and hold and then drag it down, you'll collapse everything. So, but we'll go into this freestyle line set. So collapse that down, and now we want to make sure that material boundary is selected. And right away you can see that it's given us exactly what we want. So yeah, so next let's rig this paddle. Okay, so to rig this, we're going to add a bend modifier, and to do that, we're going to go into our modifier tab in here, and let me extend that a little bit so we can see more. And so we're going to do add modifier, and we're going to add a simple deform. And right away you can see it's doing some crazy because we're in a twist. Then you see bend, taper, and stretch, but we're going to be doing stuff in the bend tab here. So let me do Shift Z to go back into our regular view here. And as you can see, it's not working for us. Unlike Cinema 4D, Cinema 4D has like a little nice cage and stuff that you can kind of see when you do bend deformer. So here's a little more tricky, but you can still work around that. So let's deselect our modifier for right now. And I'm going to go and select my paddle here and then tab and go into the edit mode. And in Blender, if you want to add something like bring in like, you know, any of these things, it will place into a wherever your cursor is, that's where it's going to place it. So if our cursor is in here and we do Shift A, you know, bring in like a cube, it's going to place it exactly where our cursor is. So the reason why I'm saying this, because we want to add a our origin here, but we want to add it right in here. And so all we have to do is just select the face here and do Shift S, and we say snap cursor to select it, and the cursor is going to be right there in the center of our face, which is awesome. So now if we hit tab and go into the object mode, we do Shift A and bring in a new empty, which is the same thing as a null, and I'm just going to do plain axis. And so this is good, and you can adjust the radius of that. So let's go maybe take it down to 1.1, and I'm going to change it to a sphere. Okay, so this is going to be our origin. So I'm going to label that origin, and let's label the paddle here as well, paddle. And so I want to place both of these into a new null. So while we still have our cursor there, let's do Shift A and then do another empty and just do empty plain axis. And this time let's make it a little bit longer, maybe like 0.3. Okay, and I'll just label this paddle control. Okay, let me extend this as well. So now what I'm going to do is place origin inside, click and drag into our paddle control, and also paddle. So when we select this paddle control null and just hit G and grab it, it grabs both our paddle and our origin. So yeah, that's good. So now let's rig this. So let's go back into our paddle in here and select our simple deformer here. And as you can see, it's still not working. So let's set the origin to our origin null. And now we're almost there. So if you select our origin null here and just move it around, you can see that it's affecting it, right? But it's still not working. So we need to do some rotations here to put it in the right, I guess, angle or whatever. So if we do x-axis and bring it 90 degrees, like so, and then z-axis 90 degrees, you can see that it's working properly. Okay, and if you go back to the deformer and just animate this like this, you can see that it's working. So yeah, it is rigged, and let's do animation next. Okay, so to animate this paddle, we need to go into the animation layout in here, and we have more tools to play here with. So, but before we start animating, let's adjust this start and end. So make sure start is, we start at frame 0 and then end at frame 34. So that's good. And right now I want to zoom in into this area. So just hover over that and hit home on your keyboard and it'll zoom right in. Okay, so that's good. And let's start animating the deformer or the simple deformer. So let's go into the modifiers tab here. Let's extend that slightly. Okay, and then and here as well. Okay, and we're going to be animating this angle value in our bend deformer. So let's go to frame 0 and set a keyframe at negative 35 and insert keyframe, or you can just hit I on your keyboard. So that's good. So we have like bending down, that's our starting position. And then we're going to go to frame 6, I believe. Okay. And we're going to raise it up to 35 and hit I on your keyboard to set a keyframe. Okay. So we have the basic movement here. And so we're going to go forward to frame 17. And then we're going to set another keyframe at 35. So hit I. And then we're going to go to frame 23. And we're going to take it to negative 35 and just hit I to set a keyframe. And we're going to go to 34 this time and then set a keyframe at negative 35. So hit I. Okay, so essentially this is what we have for right now. So let's hit play. Nothing exciting. So let's animate the paddle itself. So this paddle control null. So let's go into the rotation value over here on our paddle, and we're going to be playing with the y-axis actually. So we're going to set our first keyframe at frame 6. So let's go to frame 6 and set our y keyframe. So hit I on 0, or actually see how I hit I and it set a keyframe for X, Y, and Z. So I just want to set for Y. So right click over here and do insert single keyframe, and that's good. And so we're going to go forward to frame 17 and set a keyframe to 180. Okay, and just now you can hit I and it'll just do a single keyframe. Okay, and then we're going to go to frame 22 and set a keyframe at 180 again. So hit I, and frame 34, and then take it up to 360 and hit I to set a keyframe. Okay, and by the way, when I say I, make sure you hover over that value. So yeah. Okay, so now let's preview this. We have quick little movement here, which is awesome. You can also go back. So right now, if you hit home on here, you'll see all your keyframe. And if you hit home on this window right here, you can see more keyframes here. So you can adjust certain things right here, like the handles and stuff. So let's see what we can do here. So we have movement here, maybe snap more on rotation. So like let's go here maybe, and the scale it's like so. By the way, if you hit N while you hover at this window, there are more options in here that you can explore basically. So for here, if you select this, for instance, this handle, you can see that like here's the X value, Y value of each handle. So like the right, the left. So let's, on the X value, let's like maybe take it +5, and maybe the same here. Yeah, this one, do +5. And so let's see what that looks like. So yeah, it's got a slower start, and then yeah, I like that. That's good. Yeah, you can definitely play around and see what you want, but I think I'm going to leave it at that. So let's start animating our ball. All right, so to add our sphere or our ball into the scene, I'm going to basically, I wanted to add it to the center of this scene. So let's hit Shift-C on our keyboard, and it will place our cursor in the center of our scene. So now if we do Shift-A and bring a new object, like UV sphere, it will bring it right in the center of our scene. So that's awesome. And next, what I want to do is go to the top view, numpad 7, and I'm going to select the sphere and then hit S to scale it down to maybe about here. Let's go numpad 3 to go to side view, and numpad 5 to activate ortho. So that might be, that's probably right. Okay, so let's go to frame 6, and we're going to set our first keyframe. We're going to put it right about here. And I'm going to go, while this is selected, I'm going to go into this tab here, and I'm going to go animate the location in a transform property. So the Z axis is what we're going to be animating. So let's right click here and insert single keyframe, and then go forward to frame 15. And let's go up to about maybe like 3.8, maybe like 3.5. Let's see. All right, so set another keyframe. And now, as you can see that my sphere here is being animated there, and this is our first keyframe and that's second. So I'm just gonna select the first one and hit Control C to copy it. And I'm gonna go to frame 23 and Control V and paste our keyframe. So this is what we have basically happening. So go up, boom. So now we have a F curve right here. So let's just hit home to see all the curves for our sphere and A to select all of them. So now we can adjust this curve. So we have, it goes up and back down, but I want it to be very linear here. So let's select this and hit S and 0. So it's very flat, and the same here, same deal over here, S0. And the top here, let's kind of widen it out a little bit. So hit S and scale out some, because essentially I want to go up and then stay up a bit longer than back down. So something like this. But right now it's not, it's just one movement. So I wanted these keyframes to loop to the right and to the left. And to do that, we're gonna go into here, the side here, let's collapse the modifiers and add a new modifier, and it's called cycles. And it's amazing, as you can see, it will create a loop before and after. So if you hit play, it's pretty cool. And you can adjust it, on the fly basically. So yeah, that's pretty good. Next, let's work on our camera and background. Okay, so to wrap everything up, we're gonna go back into our default layout. And inside here, we're going to play with this camera. So to view the camera, we just hit 0 on the numpad and it goes straight into camera. But the problem is when you move, you snap right out. So, and that can be a problem, especially if you come from Cinema 4D, you're used to moving the camera around and placing it that way. But all you have to do is just hit N on your keyboard and you'll bring up more options here. So while your camera is selected while you're in the camera, just select this lock camera to view, and now you can move around with the camera. But I want my camera to be like a cube, not like a video. So I'm gonna go into this render thing and dimensions. I'm just gonna type in 500 by 500 and make sure it's 100%. So yeah, so now let's place our camera however we want it to be. So maybe, let's see. It's very subjective. Whatever you think looks good is probably good. So something like that maybe. Let's see what it looks like. Now let's pull out slightly, take it down some. Okay, I think that's gonna work for me. Something like that is good. And now if you hit Shift Z to preview, you can see that our ball is missing texture. So let's go into our textures in here. Make sure you select the ball first and then go into textures and then make sure you apply the yellow one we created. So that works. And you can see the lines are way too thick. So let's go into our freestyle here and thickness. Let's go maybe take it down to 1.5. Actually even more. Let's do 1.3. Okay. Maybe even more. Let's do 1.2. Okay, I think that will work. Yeah, that should work. So that's pretty much the animation of it. So let's next animate the background. And to do that, we're going to open up our window here. Let me hide this menu, hit N again to hide it. And I'm gonna drag it over to the side here. And we're gonna go back into the image editor. And inside here, we're gonna open our colors still, okay? And now we're gonna be playing with these two colors. So the background, obviously, if I hit Shift Z, you can see that it's gray, but it's mainly animated inside this tab. So this is our background, and that's the value. So if you change it to whatever color, you'll see it here. So we wanted to insert a keyframe or insert a change right after it hits the ball hits the paddle. So right now it would be this light blue color. So let's do light blue. And when you hover over the color and hit I to insert the keyframe, and as you can see, it'll be right there. So let's hit home so we can see this whole thing. Let's go forward one frame and then hit change it to purple. Okay, and then I to insert the keyframe. And we're gonna go to another hit. So like right about here. And I'm gonna insert this purple again. And then go forward 1 frame and change it back to light blue here. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much it. As you can see, I'm moving it around. Things are changing. So now if you, now we just need to set it up to render. And to do that, by the way, the ball is not smooth looking in my preview. So just make sure you hit smooth here and I'll fix it. So let's go into our render options here. And we already played with dimensions and the start and end frame. Make sure that's correct. But render here, once you are ready to render, you just hit animation and it'll do that for you. But before you do that, there's a few things you probably want to go over. And the first one is output. Make sure you put it in the folder you want it to be in. You can use image sequences, or for this one, it's so quick, you can just use like H.264 or one of these is fine. But if you're sending it like a long render, it's probably smart to use an image sequence in case the render fails, you can still recover, right? But if it's a movie, then you're kind of not in a good place. So, but for this case, it's so quick. H.264 will work fine for me. And that's really about it. And just hit render animation when you're done, and that is it. All right, I hope you found this tutorial useful. Thank you so much for watching. If you would like the project file of this tutorial, be sure to head over to ukramedia.com and you can find it there. And I'll also post the links below this video in the description area. And be sure to like this video, comment, share it, like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter. And until next time, my name is Sergey Prakhnevsky and this is ukramedia.com.